everybody, on today's show, we are talking books, 6 of them.
It's time to choose the next book we'll be discussing. This month's theme?
Self-improvement.
We'll all present a book choice and then we'll vote on them.
It's time to choose a new book, so grab your cups. It's time for The Tea. Well, all right, ladies, we know our theme for this month, and it's going to be self-improvement. So, Margarita, go ahead and get us started. You have 1 minute, and your timer starts now.
Well, alrighty then. My choice for self-improvement was Food, Health, and Happiness by Oprah Winfrey. And this is #1 in the New York Times #1 bestseller. Ow! All right, I chose this because she actually has healthier ways of cooking. There's something called unfried chicken. And
How
turkey.
you unfry some chicken?
I don't know, but we got to read the book. Remember?
Okay, I'm sorry.
What it is that, she's always had a struggle with her weight for years. So she wanted to contribute towards eating healthier, cooking great foods. It tastes just as delicious. She has one called unfried turkey and turkey chili. So what it is that she finds happiness throughout that. You can still eat healthy, look great. Because when you look great, you feel great, the whole 9, mind, body, and soul.
So, ladies, are there any questions?
I have a comment. I think this is interesting just in light of Oprah's new involvement with Weight Watchers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. So now we know that Oprah's book is on the New York Times bestseller. She's with Weight Watchers. And you had something else you wanted to add?
No, well, just piggybacking off of what Dina said about Weight Watchers. And so within the cookbook, I'm almost sure, but all the meals are like aligned with their points, values, and system. I'm a former Weight Watchers girl, like every other week.
Well, most of them, and you got to get the cookbook. I can't give away everything. I tell you what, why don't all of you ladies come to my house? We'll pick some recipes from the book, and we'll make them. That's
Sounds good, awesome. Well, all right, she is recommending the cookbook by Oprah Winfrey, Food, Health, and Happiness. Afi, what are you bringing to the table?
So I am bringing to our...
Hold on, you got 1 minute. Let me set this good timer and go.
So I am bringing to our self-improvement, She's Still There by Mrs. Chrystal Evans Hurst. Now this book is for the woman who feels like she lost herself somewhere along the way. Wow. As a little girl, she had all this energy, these ideas. Somehow life didn't take her where she wanted to go, and she's trying to find herself. And Mrs. Hurst is here to tell us that she's still there. That young girl inside of us who had all of these ideas and this ambition, she's still there despite the obstacles that you've encountered. And she really gives us a roadmap to going back to that young girl, but also guiding us through understanding the rough patches that we all have been through and knowing that it didn't take you off of your path. It was really just refining moments to really take you where you're going. And so I'm totally recommending this. I am really big on inner child healing and recovering her because I feel like that light that was always inside of us, society will try to tear it down and dim it. And so I feel like we all have to be really vigilant.
Ma'am,
that's our baby.
No, your timer went off. Ladies, she's recommended this book. Are there any questions?
I have a question. What is the author's background?
Good question. So according to her bio, she is a pastor's wife. And I love this. I have to read this here. So it says, Chrystal also cultivates hearts and commands chaos as the chief operating officer of the Hurst household. To me, that is the best description of a mom and a wife who's holding her house down also.
Awesome, awesome. And I can relate to that too, because sometimes we do suppress the little girl and become somebody that we totally don't recognize. Because have you looked at pictures when you were a little girl and talk about where did she go?
Exactly.
So yeah,
she's still there.
She's still there. This is what Afi's recommending. All right, Janelle, it is your turn. You have 1 minute and your timer has started now.
So I'm recommending The Divine Butterfly by Karen St. Hilaire. And this book is really for the woman who is career-minded and is setting her sights for another level. Okay. It's really to help align your inner power with purpose. So we know we can walk around confident, we know that we're bold, but at the same time we need to make sure that we're not losing sight of our goals, but also we have an action plan for them. She wants to deepen our relationships with ourselves, and then also so that we can fulfill those hopes and desires, really making sure that we are keeping in mind what is important to us, but really heal and foster those relationships that we need for ourselves. If you don't know who you are, you're not going to go very far. So that's really why I'm recommending The Divine Butterfly, because I think everyone has something to learn from her.
Oh, wow. Well, ladies, she got us some time to spare. So any questions about Divine Butterfly?
No, a lot of people can relate to something like that because it's also a form of positive energy, positive circle. You want people to, life happens to people, but you want to be on the right path towards where you're going. So I'm a firm believer of the right people around you to help convince you to keep going. You understand? So good book. I like that.
And though I also think that I understand what you're saying, of like your environment definitely influences where you're going. But I think even within your different situations, that there's going to be advice in this book that can really help you survive and flutter through those situations and those toxic relationships. So it's really inner strength that's going to get you where you're going.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you said flutter through, because I wanted to know what's the connection between purpose and the divine butterfly in this particular book, because I like talking about and thinking about the butterfly very often when we change. The butterfly does not apologize to the ground when it leaves.
Exactly.
So, I mean, when we go through our transitions and we start out as a caterpillar, we always want to say sorry to everyone as we're about to evolve. But the butterfly doesn't think twice. And that, the period of isolation when you're by yourself and we think something negative is happening, but you're a butterfly, you're getting your wings.
Yes, that's beautifully said. And that's why I recommend The Divine Butterfly, because there's definitely something in it for all of us.
Well, all right. It's my turn.
Yeah.
I am. What in your hand is that for what? Oh, here.
Keep her honest, Nigeria.
Yes.
Whatever.
Take one extra second. Your time begins.
In fact,
now.
I'm not going to even take my whole minute. I am number 8. I am recommending it. It is by John Gray. Shout out to Houston, because that's where I'm from as well. I like this because how many times have you been in the office building and you've been looked over? You say something, nobody pays attention. But then this dude sitting next to you, or two cubicles over, says the same thing, sends the same email, says the same thing, and everybody thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread. That's what this book is talking about. It talks about being looked over. How do you overcome being looked over when you know you are the best, you know you are the brightest, you know that you got everything in you to succeed, but people keep looking over you? How many times have you tried to start something and you know that, now you know good and well Janelle can help you get through what you need to get through, and she overlooks you and then go to somebody else. How many times have we been in those situations? This is what this book is talking about. John Gray is talking about how...
You broke your promise, girl.
Oh, man.
Lying prophet.
I promise I don't prophesy. I prophesy it all the time. All right, any questions?
Why is it called I'm number 8? What does that mean?
Okay, he's talking about David. How many of you are familiar with David in the Bible? David was the king. Well, when David was tending the flock, Samuel came, who was the king at that time, looking for, let's say, a replacement. So he comes into David's father's house and he goes to all the brothers. All the brothers are big and tall and strong. And David is out in the backfield. Let's say David is in the back 40. And they say, well, then he's like, well, this can't be everybody. I can't anoint them because they aren't what I'm looking for. They don't have the look. They don't have the it factor that I'm looking for. And how many times have been looked over? Because people think we don't have the it factor. So he says, you got to have somebody else here. So David was the 8th son. David was the son who was always looked over. And that's what John Gray is talking about. How do you go from being looked over to now being king?
So since this is Self-Improvement Month, does he give us any tools or guidelines, or is it more just like encouraging you to keep going?
It's a little bit of both. He talks about his story of how he was looked down upon as a kid, how he was teased, and how he took those hard times and turned them around to be more positive. And he gives tools on how to develop yourself into becoming a better you.
I like that.
Okay.
And does this also talk about his pastoral calling?
It talks about it because he says that initially he was having so many problems of getting through things and doing things until he accepted his call into ministry. So he does talk about the call to ministry, but I don't want you to think that it's all about ministry, because it isn't. So I think we look at it from a different perspective, and with an open mind, we should be able to pull something from it. So that's why I am recommending I Am number 8. All right. And that will lead us now to Nigeria.
Hey.
And now I'm taking my timer back too. And your timer starts right now.
Okay. So what I have here is to hair and back. Okay. It is a journey of self-love, one strand at a time, by Rhonda Eason. And what the book goes over and what she deals with is that she's almost like an outcast in her family because of her hair. She has what people would not describe as good hair. And she feels different than everybody else in her family. And she's like, if hair is part of who I am, but I don't have anything like anybody else, then what does that make me? But then she discovers, okay, wait, I'm not my hair, so who am I really? And she goes on this journey to discover who she is through various different hairstyles. And there's also some traveling involved in it, but she goes over all the different experiences she has as she changes her hair, which I like because I change my hair a lot. Even with locks, I change my hair a lot. And there's a different...
Oh, that's it, honey. That's it. That's it. Thank you for changing your hair. And are there any questions? Are there any questions?
Does she break down any recipes? Does she actually use oil, special creams? Does she actually tell how, her hair care regimen?
She goes over some of her hair care regimens, but the focus is not necessarily on the process of caring for your hair, but how you use your hair as a representative of who you are, and not to feel bad about people who reject your hair, your beauty, your standard of who you are.
More than just the medical, it's a very emotional thing. Wow. Hair is really, really big in people's lives. So it would be very interesting to read a book where someone goes into that journey. This is a memoir, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
So, she's talking about how she feels, what her experiences are, because a lot of the ways people feel about their hair, they end up doing things that actually damages their hair and hurts their hair, and they'll continue to do it because of how they feel.
And Dina, since you summed that up so well, we are now to you, and you are recommending what again, please?
So my book is Don't Settle for Safe by Sarah Jakes Roberts. And some of you may know, I didn't know this is T.D. Jakes' daughter, and she has written books before, and she is a minister in her own right. But what attracted me to this book is, she's talking about how sometimes when you get stuck in life, like she's been through a lot. It was actually kind of surprising to learn about her journey having a child young, being married young, getting divorced when she's the minister's daughter. You think about things that you did in the past and your past mistakes, and that can paralyze you. And I thought this was interesting from the perspective of a business owner, because being a business owner, you really have to take risks. And how you feel about that really affects how you move forward. And she's coming at it from, her perspective as a pastor, but that's what actually really drew me in, into this book. And I think a lot of the lessons and the things that she talks about can translate to many different situations and settings. And so she's talking about how you don't get paralyzed
there you go.
by mistakes.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?
I like that idea. And does she so she just basically coaches us through our mistakes, or does she coach us how to step out of our fear in a sense?
Well, she basically talks about some of her own mistakes and how she worked through them, and then she goes through different types of mistakes and how people respond to them.
So, who is this book's audience, and what can they expect to gain from reading?
I think she's talking to young people in part, in terms of people who are trying to find themselves, and she made a lot of mistakes when she was young. But I really think it would be useful to anybody who's sort of afraid to make a mistake, and that fear is keeping them from moving forward. We all make mistakes, and that's where the lessons are.
Awesome.
Hold it, I've got something to tell you. If you really want to be a part of this conversation, the only way you can get in is if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. That's the only way your voice is going to get heard. So hurry up, click subscribe and drop a comment at the end. See ya.
Well, all right, ladies, you have heard the selections. It's time to vote. Get your pens. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Looking at my board.
I just want to know.
Just nosy. Just nosy. All right, Margarita, we're going to start with you. And you voted for?
The Divine Butterfly.
Wow, Afi.
The Divine Butterfly.
And Janelle.
To Hair and Back.
And I voted for, she's still there, Nigeria.
To Hair and Back.
And Dina.
The Divine Butterfly.
Well, all right. Looks like we have a winner. Divine Butterfly will be our next read. Okay, everybody.
You finally won.
You finally won. Yes. Okay, everybody. We have our next book. So read and watch along. And let's get the conversation going right here on YouTube by commenting below as we spill the tea on
The Divine Butterfly.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and let's keep the conversation going and growing. And remember, who's telling your story? The team.